Hi, my name is Divya Jain, and I am a senior at Penn State University. And this past summer, I had the pleasure to work with the Drawdown Scholars Program within the College of Engineering and to work with my wonderful faculty mentor, Rachel Brennan, who is also part of the College of Engineering. And this summer, my project focused all around reducing Penn State's dining carbon footprint. So, firstly, I would like to start off with the importance and urgency of drawing down Penn State's carbon emissions. It truly cannot be overstated in today's world of a rapidly changing climate and a rapidly approaching deadline of reversing carbon emissions so that we can avoid irreversible climate change. So, firstly, I would like to say that diet is often an unrecognized but major contributor to our carbon footprint. The average American diet emits about 1.72 metric tons of CO2 equivalent every single year. And agriculture is responsible for about a fourth of the world's greenhouse gas emissions. So, if we can alter our food systems, we can heavily affect our carbon emissions. So, you might ask, we know all of this. Why isn't everyone just changing our diets immediately to match a sustainable model? Well, there's some barriers to change. Some of those include cost, an already established culture, lack of education, as well as access. However, we can combat some of those by educating ourselves, educating others, reevaluating our personal choices, and challenging the setup of our dining infrastructure, which is what I've aimed to do here. So, in terms of my research methods, I collected data mostly through interviews with dining staff to get their perspective as well as concrete dining data and performing calculations on that. I also reviewed literature on food sustainability, compared Penn State's dining with similar universities, and also used my own personal knowledge from having eaten in the dining halls my freshman and sophomore year. So, through all this, I developed four strategies through which we could work on reducing our emissions. So, the first is to focus on plant based dining because often, most all of the time, plant based diets are going to have a much lower carbon emission rate than meat diets. And so, because of that, I encourage Penn State to incorporate more plant-based entree options in the dining hall. As of right now, there's one vegan option for every meal, but that's only one option out of many that they have at the dining hall. And so it seems like it's kind of something other rather than an option that students should be welcome to take. Secondly, I focused on buying local foods because buying local not only invests in the Pennsylvania and mid Atlantic economy, but it also reduces carbon emissions from having to transport food from faraway places. The third is to reduce food waste. So at the all you can eat buffets, there is a high amount of food waste. In fall 2019 alone, Penn State dining halls at University Park, just one of the campuses, wasted over 264,000 pounds of food, and that totaled to about $369,000 in monetary loss. So by throwing away food, we're not just throwing away the carbon emissions that it took to make that food, but we're also throwing away money. The fourth strategy is to assess our to go material options. So the current options are a single use polystyrene or styrofoam clamshell or a reusable polypropylene plastic clamshell. And so the better option here is to eliminate styrofoam and use a more sustainable alternative, which I suggested to be a paper made from a bagasse fiber. Or the best option is to eliminate single use to go materials altogether and focus exclusively on the reusable green to go clamshells. So, through these strategies, I presented several recommendations, and I just like to go through two of them. So if you look at recommendation number 2, it is to conduct a life cycle assessment of Penn State dining. This is the best way that Penn State dining can analyze and evaluate its own carbon emissions by looking at where the food is coming from and where it's going, cradle to grave life cycle assessment to figure out where are the biggest contributors to our carbon footprint and how can we reduce that. The second one that I want to focus on is recommendation number 8. So Penn State has one main campus in the center of the state and several surrounding campuses within the entire Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And so being able to implement these carbon reduction strategies, not only at the main campus, but everywhere throughout Pennsylvania, will ensure that we are working to the maximum amount to be able to be more sustainable for all students across the campus and be able to educate them on what sustainable dining practices look like so that the students can learn and carry that forward within their own lives. So I'd like to say thank you very much for listening to this presentation, and I look forward to answering any questions that you may have. Thank you.